Breaking news happening right now as Bernie Sanders has just announced that he is suspending and ending his presidential bid for the 2020 elections. And of course, there's a lot of implications that myself and Tim Pashot will be discussing in this video. And I think the biggest one of these implications is that when is Joe Biden dropping out? That literally was my first reaction, because again, we have a very interesting landscape. We have Donald Trump also trying to take advantage of this situation. And there's a lot of things to kind of get into. But overall, when we look at Bernie Sanders, he championed a lot of kind of popular opinion for many younger college, I question if I should say educated, but college attending kids that were very open to his kind of progressive, radical ideas. And it's interesting because even though Bernie Sanders is officially ending his campaign, he still announced that he will be collecting delegates and will be pushing for more progressive policies. So again, during the convention. So we were all expecting a contested convention. Now we might have a virtual convention, but when we look at Bernie Sanders, his message of Medicare for all, free college, ending wars, criminal justice reform, I definitely resonated with the ending wars policy. And of course, a lot of other people did too. But Bernie Sanders kind of represented this new politician, this kind of answer to Donald Trump on the left that, again, spoke to a lot of people. There's no denying that. But when we look at the 2016 presidential election, he got robbed and then bowed down to the people robbing him, and then essentially just caved into Hillary Rodham Clinton. In 2020, he was also getting robbed in some ways, but also this year, I think he also shot himself in the foot and didn't do himself any favors. And now, because he didn't really fight back effectively, we have Donald Trump just tweeting. If we could pull this up, Tim. Donald Trump tweeting as soon as Bernie Sanders announced this, he said, quote, "Bernie Sanders is out. Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. If not for her, Bernie would have won almost every state on Super Tuesday." That's a very interesting point made by Donald Trump, and a lot of people do believe that is the truth. Continuing on, Donald Trump said, "This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted, same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. The Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Trade." Big emphasis on that. So again, a very strategic move here by Donald Trump, since, of course, the policies that he's enacting are pretty much very similar policies to what Bernie Sanders has been dreaming of. So good kind of political maneuver here. But essentially, what do you make of this tweet, Tim, since, again, Donald Trump has essentially made Bernie Sanders' wishes come true in some instance just recently with his major economic actions?
Well, Luke, this is Bernie Sanders talking here, and America now is already a socialist nation, so my work here is done. So I think that we, now that all the college indoctrinated kids, that wasn't enough to push me over the finish line, over the start line. And now if somebody could just tell Joe Biden that he's running for president, I think if we continue on along the fascist lines of Donald Trump, that we will keep America great. And this is such
we got to work on those impressions.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, as soon as you work on my name, we can work on those impressions. But today you did a pretty good job. But very low bar that you've had so far. I thought Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders rather would be the best person to go up against Donald Trump, especially in 2016. But for the reasons that you just mentioned, I think he burned a lot of his no pun intended there, a lot of his political capital by really just kind of kowtowing in, letting Hillary just, take him for a ride. Because we all saw her steal the election. I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan, obviously, but, just seeing the fact that it was stolen and then all these Democrats are now like, wait, there's super delegates, and oh, wait, my vote doesn't really count. And then all these people complaining. I mean, how many of them even voted in the primary, which has much more relevance? And I'm speaking about the 2016 primary, because you see all these people out in the streets, and then yet, they didn't even vote. Now, then we could even get into whether voting even matters and all that other stuff. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, even if you get on the debate stage, and then even if you're on all the ballots, then they have all sorts of stuff with like fraction magic, where some of your vote goes over here and some goes over there, and they can be hacked. And what was it? Was it Lenin that said, I don't I care or I don't care. I forgot. It's something along the lines. I only care about who counts the votes is the only thing that matters, and he's the one that counted the votes. And so the Democratic primary, complete rigged. Basically, a bunch of malarkey, is what Joe Biden would say as it relates to the Democratic primary. And Joe Biden, what a joke! He is the guy that basically wrote the '94 crime bill, was still bragging about it at one of the debates I saw, like as recently as like 2 months ago or a month ago. I mean, things are going so fast now. It seems like a month ago was like a year ago in terms of like how quickly things have devolved over here. And where we were we were in partial socialism before, and now I think we're more into fascism now because you're seeing the state and all these institutions start taking over companies, which is more indicative of a fascism. But you're really splitting hairs because it's really all of these systems are just a tiny amount of people controlling everything. So whether it's fascism or communism or socialism, it's all a tiny amount of elite sitting up on top, sucking off everybody else. And that's and then we got Bernie Sanders, has never done basically anything in his life, besides give a message that's very popular to people. But contrast him to Ron Paul. I mean, Dr. Ron Paul was trying to sell people on freedom, and he's trying to sell people on free stuff. And so it's very easy to run a Santa Claus when you're going to be giving away money to everybody else. But yeah, I mean, I make this out to be, I actually think Donald Trump is still in very, very big trouble. Yeah. I do not think Trump is going to win come 2020 is my very early prediction.
Well, I want to talk about that because anything could happen here at any moment. But the strategy that kind of Donald Trump is laying out here, it's kind of a smart one. And he does bring up some interesting points, not only with the Hillary Clinton fiasco. Again, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz robbed Bernie Sanders in 2016. Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to resign from the DNC in disgrace. Right after she did that, she got hired up by, of course, Hillary Clinton, because she's the one that siphoned away the popular support of Bernie Sanders, and she usurped it to, of course, let Queen Hillary Clinton be at the helm of the DNC. And now we've kind of seen similar actions with, again, just another puppet establishment of the neoliberals who's willing to say anything to get elected. Now we have Joe Biden, who, as mentioned before, needs to kind of be woken up and be reminded, hey, you're the nominee here. And that still is even up to question with a lot of people looking at his mental health, looking at his latest statements and saying, even people like Joe Rogan that, again, talk about very popular left-wing ideas. They promote very popular left-wing ideas. Joe Rogan does that. Even he is saying, Joe Biden doesn't look like a person of sound mind and body. He looks like a person who is out of it, doesn't know where he's at. And this is the person that they pushed through. And the way they did this is another point that Donald Trump brought up, specifically talking about how he is thanking Elizabeth Warren because if it wasn't for her, Bernie would have won all the states. And when you look at Elizabeth Warren's platform, it was very similar to Bernie's. And it looked like she also did cut a deal with the establishment, with the CNN, to viciously attack Bernie on nonsense, on malarkey that no one was buying. No one was buying Elizabeth Warren, the liar, the person who told us she was Native American and used that to get into prestigious universities and positions of power based on her lying. Meanwhile, she's talking about, what is she talking about? White people having privilege. Meanwhile, she lied. If white people have privilege, right? Why did she have to lie about being white to get into all these prestigious universities and positions throughout her entire life?
Or what about, she's getting what, $400,000 to teach one class at Harvard? I mean, I could figure out how to bring college classes down immediately. How about you don't take $400,000 to teach one class, which is basically just a payoff? But I mean, getting back.
But yeah, Elizabeth Warren, total establishment kind of stooge here, and this is important points that Donald Trump is bringing up. That again, you don't hear in the mainstream media, but these are popular kind of thoughts and ideas that are being circulated around the kind of Bernie bros that he's now trying to galvanize. And I think he will be successful in turning some of them, because I know a lot of people. This is not talked about in the mainstream media, But I know a lot of people in 2016 that I talked to that are completely on the left side who voted for Donald Trump because he was the anarchy vote. He was the crazy vote. He was the vote saying, let's get rid of this whole entire system. F it. Let's get him in power and let's get this, because we got screwed over by the DNC. We got screwed over by Hillary Clinton. And now it's time to blow this whole entire ship up. And that's, I think, is one of the reasons why Donald Trump was elected, because Hillary Clinton was so bad. Well, Joe Biden is so bad. But again, as you said, I mean, you're making some predictions that he's not going to win. I don't know if I'm able to say that. But again, things are unpredictable. CNN is running their own polls. We can't trust CNN at all, especially their own polls. But they're showing that a majority of Americans say that the federal government has done a poor job preventing the crisis that's happening right now. But again, CNN poll, highly questionable. Don't trust CNN at all. But anything could happen here. Anything could change in a moment's notice. And you're right. Donald Trump isn't secured this election, even though it looks like he's going to win overwhelmingly. Because again, many people were thinking Hillary Clinton was going to win overwhelmingly. And guess what? That didn't happen at all. Only very few people, only like Ann Coulter, Mike Cernovich. Me. I think you're saying it as well. We're saying, hey,
Dr. Frank Tambury, who was also a guest on the show as well.
We're saying Donald Trump's, probably going to win this. I from right now, it looks like Donald Trump has this, but again, anything could change.
You know what the number one?
You think? Yeah.
The number one indicator if a president will win or not is the stock market. And so if the stock market, the 2 months prior to the election, is not near an all-time high, I mean, at that point, there's basically no chance, game over. That's the highest indicator of if a president will win. 40 days.
But Sleepy Joe? I mean,
I don't think, and it's funny because it's almost like he's like Weekend at Bernie's, but yet this is Joe Biden. We're dragging out this like.
If they put in Andrew Cuomo, if there's a contested convention and they put in the New York governor Cuomo in there, then I totally.
And that was, dude, and you see my notes over. I made like 5 notes, and one of them was just the word Cuomo. And so I think Cuomo, and then I think no matter what, it's going to be Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris does represent, the Hillary Clinton wing of the party. So she was, as a senator, was basically, I'm talking about Kamala Harris, was playing defense for Hillary Clinton at the State Department, being on all these intelligence committees. And we need to get Dr. Frank on to talk about this stuff in more details, because he's an absolute expert when it comes to what's going on there. But I think Kamala Harris for the VP, no matter who gets it, whether it's Cuomo or whether it's because then you've got think about it, you've got a black woman who's very tenacious as while she's putting other black people in jail for smoking weed and other things, very, very liberal. But then you're going to see her attacking Donald Trump, and then if he then attacks her, it's like, oh, he's attacking a minority woman, and then so I could already see that being a narrative that they're going to trot out. I mean, hopefully they have Cuomo there, because as an Italian New Yorker, there's myself, there's no one can call me racist or anything for going after Cuomo. So I almost sort of hope he gets in there. But Biden, I do not. I think they're going to pull some 11th hour stuff where hey, he has early onset dementia and he's going to take one for the team and he's going to step down because Hillary Clinton's going to have a metaphorical, or one of her body men, have a metaphorical gun to his head, and he might know what's up. And who knows? This is so crazy. I do not think it's going to end up being Joe Biden, but I think Trump is going to lose. But this almost fell into Trump's lap perfectly, though, being able to blame everything on this pandemic, because absent the pandemic, this was eventually going to occur anyway. There's all these bubbles, but now this pandemic is basically a skeleton key to say, okay, well, now we get to blame everything. Everything was humming along fine. If it wasn't for this stupid pandemic, everything would have been great. And then now his whole message of keep America great again, I think he's going to need to come up with a new campaign slogan, immediately. Yeah. But yeah, I still would be a betting man that he would lose. And I lost friends, family members, tons of people because I was all out for Donald Trump in 2016, but now unfortunately he's made the government even bigger, and he's accomplished, as my poor Bernie Sanders impersonation led to before, he accomplished a lot of the stuff that even Bernie wouldn't be able to accomplish, Luke.
Well, Donald Trump is in a very tough position. I wouldn't want to be in his position because, again, with this current situation, if they overreact and lock down the economy and then destroy the economy, Donald Trump's going to be, blamed here. If he underacts and more people get sick and more people die, Donald Trump gets blamed here. Again, this is a very serious situation. And that's why in the future video, we will be talking about the trajectory of this entire crisis. Speaking, of course, health-wise, where it is going. So, of course, stay tuned for that conversation and a lot more here on the Change the News channel.